Even if you are not a Bible scholar, you probably know the legend of the three wise men from the east who, guided by the Star of Bethlehem, came to the newborn baby Jesus to pay homage to him. Christian tradition has turned them into three kings and given them three male names, but is wisdom an exclusively male domain? Here I give you a chance to shape the story and decide for yourself who could have followed the star back then. Was it three men, three women, two men and a woman, or one man and two women? So as you can see, I have the four kings and the four queens, along with a card with a star on it. So I'll go ahead and just, in fact, if you were here, you could tell me how to stack these. Left on right, right on left. Now we really do want to mix these cards thoroughly, okay? So that no one knows anything about where any of the cards are located, okay? Here we go. And let me just deal out 4 cards here, so 2 piles of 4. And now what I'm going to do is, I'll turn over the top cards. I'm going to allow you to decide, was it 3 men or 3 women, or 1 of one and 2 of the other? Your choice. A note to you as the performer, there are 4 possibilities. And I want you to know you can achieve any of these outcomes. So why don't we say the person chooses 3 queens, so 3 females who followed the star back then, okay? So what you do is you give the spectator the queen here, kind of as a reminder as to what their choice was, okay? So that way they can remember, okay, I chose 3 queens for the outcome of this routine here. From there, you just flip the other card face down, set the pile of 3 on top of the pile of 4, and then set the Star of Bethlehem on top, okay? Now from here, you just deal out the cards into 4 piles from left to right. You ask the spectator, would you like me to stack the outer piles on top of the inner piles, or the inner piles on top of the outer? And they might say the inner piles on top of the outer. Okay, just like that. How would you like these stacked? Left on right? Okay, very good. Now it's at this point you give the spectator a whole bunch of very important choices. They can choose how to randomize these cards. Now the reason they can do that is because right now this packet of 8 is technically a Bessey sequence of order 8. Well, what does that mean? That means it will not be harmed by dozens and dozens of common shuffles that are used today. So here I've just given a list of 8 from which they can choose. And since there's kind of 4 routines or 4 possibilities for this routine, I thought we would just have them randomly choose 2 of these for this first segment. So I have a 8-sided die here to make that selection. So let's go ahead and roll it. Okay, 5. 5 is a Mon shuffle. Okay, so a Mon shuffle is where you go over, under, over, under, over, under, over. You can also go under, over, under, over. Now, you need to know that you can do, in fact, maybe we'll do under, over this time. You can do as many of these as the spectator asks for. Okay, so that's the mange. What else are they going to choose? 2. Oh, okay. So an LR4. This is where you just deal them out into 4 piles, like this. The spectator is free to stack from left to right, right to left, or leapfrog stacking. And maybe I'll show you that just so if you haven't seen it before. So maybe the spectator says, stack them from left to right, and do this leapfrog stacking that you mentioned. So, okay, so how that works is this pile leaps over its neighbor, lands there. This one leaps over its neighbor and lands there. Random stack here. Spectators deciding all of that, okay? Now you can do as many of those as the spectator calls for. Maybe we'll just do one more, and maybe this time we won't do leapfrog. Maybe we'll just do right to left, like that, okay? Now, if it bothers anyone that we happen to have the star on top, Why don't we go ahead and do a mange? We mentioned they can do as many mange shuffles for this LR4 into 4 piles as they like. In fact, they can do any of these and more if they like. Okay, so once they're content that the cards are mixed sufficiently, you take them back from them, and what you do is you just deal out left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Let's move the die. You remove the top cards. You stack the left on the right. Repeat. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Remove the top cards, and then stack the lefts on top of the right. Then repeat again. Left, right, remove the top card. And at this point, we only have one in each, so you just stack those. And you are finished. So whatever pile contains the Star of Bethlehem will actually finish with what the spectator asked for. Spectator wanted 3 queens. That's what they believe the true legend is. So do we have 3 queens here? 1, 2, 3. We got 3 queens. Okay. Now, can you guess how it might differ for the kings? Okay. And it's not a bad idea for us to just run through that because you'll see the steps again. Okay, so it begins in a similar way, and now I can begin to explain more of the steps too. So you randomly stack the blocks. You perform a Klondike shuffle. This is where you take the top and bottom off as 1. Okay, it's now cyclic. It alternates king, queen throughout. Because it's cyclic, you can randomly cut it. You can have the spectator randomly cut the packet. That would be fine. A stronger option is a Charlier shuffle, and I can include a link in the description below for the Charlier shuffle. It won't hurt a cyclic packet. Oh, also, I want to point out that in the description, I'm going to attach a full write-up of all of the steps that we're going through. It'll be a PDF. I will give you every single step with explanations for what I'm showing you today. Okay, so just rest assured you don't have to like memorize these right now or something. Okay, so we've done a Charlier shuffle. Well, what did we do next? Do you remember for the queen request? Well, we dealt out 4 cards, set the other cards down as a second pile. We flipped these face up. So maybe now the spectator says, well, I believe in the traditional story. I believe it was actually 4 kings as recorded. Okay, and then as before, we flip the other card face down. We stack the pile 3, the smaller one on top of the larger one, pile 4. Okay, and then the next step that we've done already, we dealt out into 4. Oh, sorry. I always forget this step. You've got to put the star on top. Star is important in this story, as you might imagine. Okay, and then you deal out into 4 piles like this. Now, what's happening here? So if you were to kind of see under the hood, what's happening with the next couple of steps, you're converting the packet from what we had to a Bessey sequence of order 8. Once it's in that organization, then you can do all of these shuffles and many, many more, and it won't harm the structure of that packet. Okay, so if you remember, what we did next was we gave them the option of stacking the outer ones on top of the inner or the inner on top of the outer. Okay, and these actions will convert it to a Bessey sequence and then random stacking here. So technically now it's a Bessey sequence of order 8. Because of that, you can do any and all mixing that I've mentioned here. So maybe they'll ask for, I guess we've been rolling the die. If you've watched any of my videos, you know you can do any and all of these shuffles. So maybe we'll do the down under this time. Kind of a fun one. So down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down. Last one goes on top. and then maybe we'll do a Pharaoh shuffle. Okay, so this is where you spread out the cards, break them exactly in half, and then just interlace them perfectly in some fashion. Okay, that's a Pharaoh. Now you can do as many down under followed by Pharaoh shuffles as you like. You can do 3 Pharaoh and 2 more down under, whatever the spectator calls for. It won't harm the structure of this packet, and that's the remarkable thing. Okay, so once they're content that, oh boy, I've made these choices, and there's no way that this performer could possibly know ahead of time what choices I would make. From here, you take the cards back, and so this is your chance to kind of finish the routine. So from here, do you remember what we did? We took off the top cards. Remember that? Stack left on right. Now that's important. I want to point that out. So just think that you're dealing from left to right, and so then we'll stack from left to right for that particular step. Okay, left to right, remove, and then remove again. And then all you have to do, they requested, they believed it was 3 queens. Sorry, 3 queens. Boy, I'm getting my kings and queens all mixed up. So they requested, or they claimed that they believe it was 3 kings. Okay, well, here's the packet with the Star of Bethlehem. Is it true that 3 kings are following that star? It looks like it is indeed. Okay, so that's very similar to the other case when you have the person asking for 3 queens. The only difference is that step early on where they are given a king to remind them that they asked for 3 kings. Okay, even though that reminder didn't help me. Okay, and now for the other cases, what you do, okay, you start the same. Okay, you put them in an alternating relationship using the Klondike shuffle. Very good. You can do Charlier shuffles or just cut the packet. You deal out into 4 you deal out 4 cards into 1 pile. Okay, turn over the top cards. So let's say this time they say, I believe it was 1 queen and 2 kings. Okay, so that's one of the 4 possibilities. Well, you give them the queen, as we've done in the past, as a reminder that they requested a queen who will now be paired with 2 kings at the end of the routine. Okay, so you still give them, so essentially you're giving them the card for which there's going to be just one of those. So 1 queen and then 2 kings. Okay, and then you turn this face down. The smaller packet, as always, is stacked on top of the larger. You put the star on top, okay? And now you just deal that out into 4 piles. You ask, would they like the inner pile stacked on top of the outer, or vice versa? Maybe they'll want the outer one stacked on the inner with random stacking here, okay? It's a Bessey sequence. You can now do any of many, many shuffles. Let's see, why don't we do an up jog? It's right down there, up jog. So this is an even up jog. So you can do one of these or 5,000 of them. It won't hurt anything. With random stacking, by the way. So the spectator says left on right, right on left. Why don't we do another one of those? Since I kind of did it sort of fast, I guess. So you strip those out, and maybe the spectator says right on left. Okay? I guess we can do the serpentine deal. So this is where you deal out into 4 piles, but kind of like a snake that winds around. Now the next level, you deal in the opposite direction. And if we had more cards, we would do that again and again. So it's kind of like it snakes through. That's why it's called serpentine. Here they have the option to stack from left to right or right to left. Or you can actually give them the option to use this leapfrog stacking. So maybe they'll do leapfrog from right to left. So this one leaps over its neighbor. This one leaps over its neighbor. Random stacking here, maybe right on left. Okay. And you can do as many of those as you like, okay? And we can even, like I said, we can go back and do any of these. You can just do a standard left-right. That's the top one. Random stacking decided by the spectator, maybe right on left. Okay, so do as much mixing as the spectator calls for, so that they know, okay, there's no way anyone can know the exact ordering of the cards. And that is actually a true statement. Well, I mean, if you were truly tracking things, you were just a savant beyond belief or something. But I have no idea, like the exact order of the cards, where the Queen of Hearts is, and that kind of thing. But I know the structure. This is a Bessey sequence of order 8. And so none of these are going to hurt that fact. Okay, and so once we've done that, they've done their mixing. You take it back, right? You remember? And then you distill out into 2 piles. Now, this particular case where they want like 1 male and 2 females or vice versa is even easier than getting 3 kings or 3 queens, because you're done. Right now, you're done. You don't have to do this. Take the top ones off, stack the left on right, deal again, take the top one. You're finished. The pile that contains the star will consist of 1 queen as requested and 2 kings. Let's just check that here. 2 kings and 1 queen as desired. Okay. And the same sort of thing if they wanted a king and 2 queens. The only difference is early on, when this card was selected, you would give them the king, right? Okay, so and then all of the other steps are exactly the same. And in the end, the star will be paired up with a king and 2 queens. In my opinion, this effect is beyond belief. Now, I did not create this effect. Okay, so the only thing I came up with was Bessey Sequences of Order 8 that are invariant under just about every shuffle out there for small packet sizes that involve a systematic procedure. Okay, that was my contribution. And I guess in some ways it's a significant one because it's allowing the spectator to randomize so that they feel very comfortable that no one could know anything about the cards. And that would normally be true. Most people would believe that to be the case. But the structure of this performance was, again, and maybe you saw it when I set down the piece of paper here, it was submitted to me by Werner Miller. I've done a number of videos on his effects where he uses Bessey sequences. And I even did kind of a tribute video to him fairly recently. It's called Werner Miller, an Unassuming Genius. And he is. To me, he seems unassuming, and I know him to be a genius. And so this is ideal, as Werner points out. You do it once, maybe for a woman or somebody who asks for 3 queens to be in the story instead of the 3 kings. And then you immediately do it another time where someone makes a different request, maybe 3 kings or 1 king and 2 queens or whatever it is. And then you can, like I said, you can do it up to 4 different ways, accommodating every possible request. So anyway, I was blown away when he sent this to me. Now, I did think if a person wanted to, if you wanted to change the narrative from the Star of Bethlehem, I don't think it would take too much effort to come up with another way to frame all of this and still achieve the wonderful outcomes that Werner Miller has built into this performance. Okay, and then the last thing I was going to mention to you was the Star of Bethlehem. This is just a blank card. You can't really see. I guess the camera's doing me a favor here, but this is a cutout. It's like a clip art, and I've just glued it to the card, to the blank card. Okay, so that's my Star of Bethlehem. Werner suggests that maybe you can just grab a star from an ESP deck, because there's kind of a star there that actually looks like this one right here. So anyway, whatever you want to do. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you because Once I could see what he was doing, I just could not believe the genius of this man to create a routine in which you can accommodate all four very different outcomes without you ever seeing the faces of the cards during the whole procedure, except for the step where they're making their selection of king or queen, and you hand them one of those for safekeeping and as a reminder of what their request was. Anyway, I was just blown away. So I thought I'd share this with you, and I encourage you to take a look at other videos that Werner's done on my channel. I have a whole playlist. So thank you again, and take a look at other videos generally on the Absolute Math Magic channel.